remember that they are changing my voice. Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. So first I'm going to give you the facts here. Then I'm going to give you my religious explanation for those of you who aren't smart enough to realize that I deal in facts when I talk about religion as well. So you see the picture on the screen, right? It is somebody who is maybe a crypto Jew, or she's some kind of mixed black female. And she has a certain look. At this point, they might edit the pictures like they edited all my video looks and pictures, and they edit the sound of my voice. But the look at this point reflects a certain fear. It reflects and echoes, rapists who have pressed her and made it so that she is afraid to do the right thing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The racial competition, any racial competition, is over for many reasons. One is that they've been controlling reproduction for a long time, using corporations, gangs, political groups, social clubs, fraternities. The way society is divided. It's divided in so many ways, by states, by cities, in so many ways. Businesses. The unspoken rules of this, that, and the other thing. And there's massive social clubs, there's social engineer, massive fraternities that control who fraternizes, and fraternizes with who. Those words are definitive proof that that is their intention. You look at their numbers, look at how they work in the government and in corporations, how they control political groups. It's open and shut. It's not a matter of if there's a conspiracy. It's, well, who's doing it? How integrated is it? How pinpointed do they have it? Have they pinpointed the process, or is it kind of a little bit more disorganized than you might think? But it's happening, and it affects your races, period. Even the fact that we see so many Jews and crypto Jews on the news these days, right? Rhyme and reason, news and Jews, is a testament. It doesn't mean that the Jews are the main ones doing it. That is something that we can't quite determine. It could very well be that it's LGBT people and they're more multicultural than you think. It could be English people. It could be European royals. It could be European corporate people. It could be American corporate people. That isn't quite clear. One thing's for sure, it is rich white, rich Jews, rich LGBT people, and there's token minorities. That's why they're called token minorities. That's why they're separated into different social clubs, right? The Boulets, the Prince Hall, the Eastern Star versus the Scottish Rite and the York Rite, and other Masonic entities that I'm told are white only. And when I see the pictures, I see a bunch of white guys. And there's other groups like the Club of Rome, other business groups, social clubs, the Bohemian Club, the Trilateral Commission. These are powerful groups that have been proven to exist, and they absolutely affect social life, social relations, dating relations, gender relations, what have you. So their spirit, when I analyze the situation, right, their principles, their thinking is best embodied by maybe Krang mixed with Freddy Krueger and the villain from Jeepers Creepers and Leatherface. It's this very ruthless, psychotic way of thinking that they have. It's very immature. Those immature frat guys and all these colleges, the Skull and Bones, George Bush, and he's giggling, saying 322. Okay, regardless of what 322 means or doesn't mean, we know that Krang is very much like George Bush. He's very much like Donald Trump. He's very much like the spirit of corporate oppression, of government oppression that we see defining the American spirit more and more every moment of every day. It's Krang. And so you see Krang at one point, he's in the belly, right? Bel, the main adversary of God, right? Where we get the word belly. Bell. Ring a bell? Church bells? Hell's bells? Rhyme and reason, hell, bell, spell. You're in a kind of, psychological spell, a sort of magic spell, sort of state. And so when we see her, she looks at you and say you're black like me or you're mixed, and you're looking at this female. So she's saying by her actions that these rape cult people who force her to do things, they force her to date a certain way, to have sex with them in cults and in fertility rituals and what have you. Fertility rituals involve actually impregnating people quite often, but mostly it's about increasing the esteem, right? The presence, the desirability of the types of people there. Maybe they're like Bill Gates, maybe they're like Donald Trump, maybe they're a military person. There's fertility groups that are concerned with coercing people and tricking people into dating their type. Why aren't other people telling you this? Because they're helping them do it. And it's clear. They'd be like pointing to themselves to a T. So you get these perverts who pervert the course of justice, just very sick people, deranged, very sick people. Ruthless, scatterbrained dogs, more focused, kind of Nazi filth, all kinds of trash everywhere. And so Krang is in a bigger white person's body, like a police officer, a military, because that represents the physical force that Krang is using, but he's the brains, right? And he wants you to think with your reproductive organs. He wants you to think with your stomach, think survival and sex and feeling good, instead of thinking about the things that matter most, universal pinpoint and moral precision. And so she's saying to the person, hey, I can't help you. Why? Because her race is being forged. Every race is being forged by the corporate elite. So there is no racial competition. I want you to imagine yourself in an SUV. You're sitting next to Benedict Arnold, who's a traitor, Judas, who's a traitor, and a bunch of Romans who betrayed other Romans for petty reasons. And you're driving around, and you're all the same race. And they're like, hey, we're in it for our race. No, you're not. Because there's no honor among thieves. There's no honor among cheaters. There's no honor among traitors. If you really cared about your race, you'd want them to be honest. You'd want them to be good. You want them to go to heaven. You wouldn't want them to be evil. You wouldn't lie to them about God and about love. You wouldn't have them conform to a oppressor's game, even if you're white or Jewish, from the main, from the race of the main rich people doing it. If you're LGBT, you wouldn't want that for them. So the racial competition's over. You have the governing class telling gangs and corporations what to do. Ethnic nationals are puppets for the governing class of every race. So how can they be representing the race? They represent the agenda of the governing class, and it's been like this for a long time, especially the last 10 years. Every child born in the last 10 years is clearly the product of that thinking. People have been living in a concrete jungle. Races are formed naturally in nature, indigenous to this place or that place, and the indigenous culture of that place, not the concrete culture, not the concrete jungle, not the concrete jungle's governing class forging them. The word forge is a play on words for God, versus 4G, the earth deity, and the D representing the penis, the dick. 4GD. And when they make these words, they take their time to consider slang and where they're going with it. And then when they make the slang, they consider the existing words. That's actually the wordplay there, for sure. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Every race on this planet is forged unnaturally at this point, even in underdeveloped nations. The cults there obey the global governing class, the government, what have you, the military. There is no noble racial competition. There's a game-based racial competition. You're still not convinced? Okay, well, there's different gangs in a race. There's different businesses, different political groups, different religions, different family beefs. People competing over women, different shapes of, talking about fertility deities, right? Baal is depicted as a little guy. He's also depicted as a big guy, and they don't get along. The big guy wants women to prefer a big guy and the things associated with a big guy, and the little guy wants women to prefer a little guy. There's too many subracial activities going on for there to be racial uniformity and a racial competition. There's sub-races, right? Black, Afro-Latina, okay? White Hispanic, African, Islander, African American. There's people with loyalties to countries, different countries. There's region arguments, people representing for their city, for the South, for the West Coast. There is no such thing as a racial team. If you think I'm wrong, please put in the comments. How can those who have sold their souls to be abominations and to turn races into abominations turn around and say you're on the team? It's like prison gangs trying to make you feel included. And they just use you. Say, in a couple of years you're going to be paroled and they go tell you to stab somebody. Now, boom, now you're given another 10 years when you're about to be free. And for what? For their control of drugs and money? For their connection with the governing class and their agenda? No, I do not mean to intrude on any satanic business that is not my business to intrude upon. But all satanic business is something that is my business as I am Christ. So therefore, God means to use me as a tool to expose these things, and I can't back away from that. You do whatever you got to do. I'm going to do what I got to do. But first and foremost, what you have to do is obey God through me. It's sad that a lot of people don't see it that way. It's very sad. So by now you should see that I'm right. You should see it in each other. You should see it in the logic. You should see that I have no reason to lie and that the logic is sound. Take your time. Think about it. Question everything. Do your research. Do whatever you got to do. Well, for goodness sake, see through the lie and rally for universal pinpoint and moral precision. Even the word normal has the word moral scrambled into it. How can you be the normal person of your race if you're not moral? So you're abnormal? Abomination? AB, right? Abomination? Abnormal? Reminds me of the Aryan Brotherhood, where one of their most legendary leaders, had a Star of David tattooed on him. Here is this guy from a group with a swastika and stuff. It's tattooed on. They have a Star of David. You can't make this stuff up. There is no honor among thieves. Snap out of the state you're in. There's a difference between being woke, being some kind of LGBT fanatic or whatever, no offense to anybody, and what is imposed on. What's it superimposed on is something that is noble and heterosexual and from God. That is waking up to reality. Wake up and smell the coffee. Don't let them convince you that you're not supposed to wake up and smell the coffee because you might be labeled woke. Waking up, waking, going up and out, overcome, transcend. Take heart, for I have overcome the world. Don't let the fact they're trying to make it sound corny confuse you about the fact that what I'm saying is true. Don't be Krang's fucking bitch. Don't be like the female on the screen who might be attractive, but she's letting Krang tell her who to date. You can bet your bottom dollar, married or otherwise. If she was to come on here, I challenge that person to come on, to let's have a discussion about whether the governing class tells you who to date. Whether you put God and honor above the governing class controlling your body. Or whether you put survival over God and allow the governing class to control who you to date, marry or not. Who did you marry and why, if you're married? And if you are married, would you try to save your family, quote unquote, your family's flesh, and have sex with some Krang-looking piece of shit? I'm not saying this to cut you up, like Tupac said. I ain't trying to cut you up. I ain't trying to gas you up. I'm calling it how I see it. And if Tupac Shakur passed by and held back tears inside, how much more did Jesus Christ, the Son of God, come out of Krang's Babylon fucking system? Even if it kills your whole family, come out of that system. You have a soul, it is rotting. Don't give it to the devil.